Mascot horror has been on a steady downward trajectory in terms of horror and general quality of a game in this genre. Games like FNAF pioneering the trend are now compared to the likes of Garden Abandonment and recent Poppy Playtime games. At its core, Mascot horror is a category of scary games that take something comforting, like children's media, turning them into a terrifying piece of media nowhere as comforting as before. These games have a main character, easily identifiable, which brings the mascot term in. When a game turns a friendly arcade place with bright colors into a dark, shadowy filled area and flips the smiles and the jagged teeth, it attacks our feeling of nostalgia, a lot more unsettling than a game like Slender, as it follows a cliche monster in the woods approach, while a game like FNAF is a blueprint for a proper mascot horror game. But most games in this genre will copy the game for virality instead of a genuine game, shifting the game's tight, replayable loops of horror, which continue to bring anxiety, to just reaction-based games instead of invoking fear in a player. And the games end up being just copy and paste, and Poppy Playtime and Garden Abandonment fueled this. A bright mascot, puzzles, and then a chase or small horror segment in the game ends, leading every game to feel familiar, which drains suspense as jump scares are predictable. In modern games, developers and even FNAF went for glossy approaches and went heavy on creating a bright environment, especially in titles like Security Breach, which didn't bring any horror and is the new blueprint of modern mascot horror. But what these games forget is how to be revolutionary, like the explosion of FNAF 1, is it being different than those in the same space. Looking at modern mascot horror is just altered copy and paste games. When FNAF came onto the scene with Slender and Outlast, FNAF was different. Slender and Outlast followed a played down open world game where you search for clues or completing a task, and if the enemy gets near you, run or hide. FNAF was one of one. They took away your movement and dropped you in a dark environment you're stuck in. You'll feel trapped with a few things to do. You have the door, lights, and camera. The camera light enhances the cameras, and you see a family diner that you've probably been to at least once in your life turn into a gloomy building, and the comforting characters are menacing from the cameras. The cameras will get them in threatening positions which frighten you with anxiety. The building is small as it is, and you watch each camera glitch as they get closer. Sometimes the camera will abruptly cut and leave you feeling deserted and defenseless, as now all you can do is see your office. But you always must monitor the power system or your office will run out of power, sending you into a pitch black room where Freddy will appear lit up by his eyes and plays music so it abruptly cuts and he gets you. Sometimes the carousel music will play, taking you off guard, as the quiet, ambient-filled pizzeria is now filled with loud music attacking your senses. But an issue with this game is as the nights go on, the animatronics are constantly moving around, turning a scary game into a stress-filled skill game, where the one startling jump scares become annoying as you must restart the night. But gameplay loops in mascot horror don't always have to end up being stressful. Modern mascot horror is no longer stressful, but it has problems. Let's start with Poppy Playtime Chapter 1. When starting up the game, you find and play the tapes and unlock a grab pack. Then open up the area, see Huggy Wuggy, complete a first of many mazes that are copy and paste, and they're still apparent in Chapter 4 today. Then Huggy's gone, you enter the security room, walk some more, turn 4 color-coded pieces in, a door opens, you walk into the human-sized vent, do the same puzzle varied, then you're in the toy factory, make the toy, do the same puzzle again, then Huggy chases you for a minute, where you can mess things up and restart the whole chase, which then can actually make it frustrating. After a minute chase, you knock him into the abyss by pulling a box down with a grab pack. That's it. What's scary about this? Even the FNAF gameplay loop is scary, because at least the start is medicine. The appearances he'll randomly have do not make the game intimidating or scary in any way, but what the game did good was reaction-based. Every YouTuber playing this game had massive reactions to just the chase scene and honestly glazing the small appearances, which made the game blow up from the reactions, not the horror. But ever since this game blew up, mascot horror's already basic formula became just rip-offs of Poppy Playtime. Something I didn't address is all free roam mascot horror games have puzzles. Look at all Hello Neighbors puzzles. They include find keys or unlocking room. In Benny, there's a lot of puzzles, like items being organized in a certain way, or draining ink to progress. But you know what these puzzles are? A part of the game. These puzzles fit into the gameplay and are logical. They feel a part of the gameplay. Poppy Playtime's puzzles don't fit whatsoever and feel like stoppages of the game, feeling like time add-ons. Poppy Playtime's puzzles were all copy and paste puzzles. Puzzles need to be unique and useful, not the same one to open up doorways. Then there's no live AI. These games are just puzzle games in a small pre-programmed segment or a bunch of small pre-programmed ones. There's never tension in these games and the scariness is replaced with the small horror chase segments. But these games blow up from the small segments and are not scary at all. The genre is called mascot horror, but there's no horror. I understand Granny isn't mascot horror, but the AI in this game should be noted. In this game, there's constant anxiety and horror as Granny is constantly moving. The game contains puzzles, but they are part of the game, as the enemy can get you during a puzzle, which none of modern mascot horror games have. Granny's AI monitors around the house and responds to errors you do, like a floor creak or dropped item. While yes, it's a mobile game, the AI is perfect, as Mascot horror need the creature to be Roman, where you feel no terror and just comfort. No comfort! A horror game is meant to be scary, and Granny is more scary than modern games. It's more scary than Poppy Playtime Chapters 1, 2, and 4. We'll get into 3. But if this YouTube short farm game is more scary than the massive Mascot horror games, then this genre is failing. The live AI is appreciated as all these new games have scripted events. How am I going to be scared of a horror game if only small parts of the game even show the mascot of your game? Let alone any genuine frightened atmosphere to keep me on my toes when he isn't there. But these games have no atmosphere and nothing to attain in a horror.
I see you.
When Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 came out, it was amazing. The game started off in a dim environment and seeing the protagonist drop us into a vent, and then using her grab pack in a way feeling a part of the game, but not those slowed down puzzles. Then, parkour to see Catnap again. Then the puzzles began, but instead of being in a lone room, we go to a room while hearing what the monster we just saw does, and other information while doing a smaller puzzle. But to be honest, this game contained a lot of puzzles, but the gameplay was so terrifying, and the grim atmosphere made the game always tense. When you entered the house, Catnap only has a few programmed appearances, but it was terrifying to run through. It was already scary enough to be in the dark, but then this scene gave me and others anxiety for the rest of the segment, especially the walkie-talkie part. It was so startling that I genuinely stopped when I first played it. Then we make it to the VHS room where Huggy Wuggy pops out and gives the first scary chase scene. This is just the start. There are a lot more terrifying segments like the teacher's house and smiling critters. And honestly, me and others, that was the breaking point. No more Mascot horror games have a no horror. The creatures genuinely looking terrifying, instead of a basic Huggy Wuggy. But then Chapter 4 came out. The game was already a downgrade, but it had so many glitches, arguably worse than security breaches. The game's constant dark environment was completely gone in Chapter 4. Just slightly dimmed rooms and the atmosphere is the worst downgrade I've ever seen. We then inched through 40 minutes of gameplay where it's just constant puzzles and open doors, when the last game, in this time there was multiple scares and the foreshadowing of the protagonist. Then shortly after we run into Doughy, but when he emerges from the shadow, you realize the terrifying design from Catnap is shifted to Doughy. I understand this is a children's factory, but you cannot expect anyone, and I mean anyone, to be scared by this. Even Doughy's final form isn't scary. It's nowhere close to Catnap or Chapter 3, and that's all the depth I'll go into for this downgrade, as this next game had an even worse impact on Mascot horror. I'm gonna calm myself down before talking about this game. It contains nothing new or interesting in this game. The drone mechanic is stale, and it turns a quick segment into a dumbed down slow fest where you watch the drone slowly hover where it's supposed to go. This game's graphics look awful, yet it's harder to run than Chapter 3 Poppy Playtime. The reason is that the designs have too many polygons, since the creators are honestly incompetent in creating basic designs. The design is literally a box, button, and line, yet it contains up to 180,000 polygons. The game's optimization made others think their gaming device was poor. All this so far, I'm not into any mechanics. Buttons, that's it. This game's mechanic is clicking buttons 95% of the time. It contains so many segments where you click a button and your drone does. Just look at this segment of clicking buttons across the room and that's the whole puzzle. Even Poppy Playtime's puzzles are multiple tiers above this. The game has no terrifying aspects either. It's just blocky graphics that even Roblox games are better than. The game is a walking sim, and every game is slightly altered Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, as there's so many chase scenes in this game. But since this game found a way to go viral, it'll be copied. And even worse Poppy Playtime blueprint to be copied. Look at Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Mechanics and atmosphere has to be followed in modern Mascot horror, as the loop in this game is a lot better than FNAF's, as it continues to be scary even when the gameplay loop picks up. A modern problem is that they make you able to fight the monsters. Doing that makes them no longer intimidating and just a small dealable problem. You walk around the castle with the candle, which continuously has to be lit or you're stuck in the dark. If you're in the dark too long, your sanity meter decreases, and you'll begin to imagine monsters being there and noises like whispers. You search the drawers for items and AI reacts to you and your light. Never following the exact path until disturbed. It's always randomized. The atmosphere is very dark and the light mechanic is a lot better than unlimited flashlights, as it gives you more than just a monster to worry about. The puzzles are mixing chemicals integrated into the environment and not being color-coded. These aspects should also be put into Mascot horror games. Showing good design and mechanics makes the game scary. In the end, I just want devs to realize what made Mascot horror so good in the first place. Twisting comfort into fear. And nowadays games never take leaps of faith in making a unique Mascot horror game instead of just copying others. It's the same games with new Mascot characters. And this blueprint of games aren't scary. And the genre is literally called Mascot horror. The genre began by twisting comfort into fear. It will only survive if it dares to do that once more. That'll be all.